welcome to Battleground pay-per-view review, if that makes any sense. It was done in Buffalo, New York, not far, well actually was far from where I live. I live in New York, but still, it was in my area. Was this a pay-per-view that I should care about? There were some questions I've heard a couple of people talk about. Are you going to be really interested in this pay-per-view? Is it worth it? And the most part, it was worth it. This was a very good pay-per-view in certain areas. The rest I really couldn't care that much for. Now, the opening of the show, which was the kickoff. I mean, they could have put Dolph and Damien on the show. They didn't need to put them there. Really. They didn't need to put those two on the kickoff. They could have actually had them in the show. It was a good match. And this kind of leads into what happened in the beginning of the show, because something could have been done but wasn't, which could be understandable because of what happened in another match. But Damien and really Dolph did a very good job. I really did enjoy the match. And I wish to say that the commentators in the kickoff show of The Miz, of Titus O'Neil, and Sweet Tea Tenzai. I don't like saying Sweet Tea. It just sounds... Lord Tenzai sounds better than Sweet Tea. I'm sorry. But when you hear Tenzai talk, it's like... That's the one that came in the beginning when he was like... Something in Japanese. Something like that. He seemed vicious and destructive when he first came in, and now he's speaking normal English. He's all sweet and, well, nice, and they had an opportunity with him and they blew it. I think he should have stayed in, I think he was in New Pro Wrestling in Japan. Not sure. But the commentary was actually very good. I wouldn't mind seeing the kickoff commentary interchange with the commentary team that they usually have in the pay-per-view. Once in a while, let the kickoff commentary team do the job. That would give us something new in commentary. Not saying I don't love JBL. JBL makes commentary, for me personally, great. King, I'm used to, was glad to see him. Cole, I don't hate the man, but he's basically there for information. I just... Now, the first match of the night was RV. The reason I'm botching this is that the question is this: what was accomplished? Honestly, opening the show with it is not uncommon for the World Championship. And to be honest, I was not interested in it. The crowd wasn't too bad, and they were cheering for RVD. Usually Philadelphia, Chicago, New York always cheer for the ECW guys. And I don't hate RVD. And it was still a good match. It was. But it felt like, why? Particularly what happened at the end. I mean, it was good to see Ricardo Rodriguez get a bit over on ADR. Maybe that could promote something down the road with them, but they had their chance with that. And they never really built it between ADR and Ricardo Rodriguez. Like I said, there's a reason I'm botching, and the point is that I wasn't totally interested in this match. Even though it was a good match, I didn't really care. Particularly, there was never a change. ADR retains. But what do we get from that? Really not much. So the next match was Curtis Axel versus RTruth. I felt sorry for them, because nearing the end of the match, people were beginning to chant boring. And the problem here is this: RTruth isn't like he was in 2011. Like I always say, the best time RTruth was around, and he was so good, was when he was dealing with John Morrison and he turned dark. But they flipped him back to the way he was before, and it's very boring. No matter if he wants to be that way or they force him to be that way, I'm not interested. And then Curtis Axel, who they really brought in strong. He was dealing with God himself, Triple H. He was basically winning over a whole bunch of people, but then, because of what's going on with the CM Punk angle, he's really not having much traction right now. Unless CM Punk is going after that title, and they must let him carry that title eventually. It makes no sense for Curtis Axel to keep the title. Unless Curtis Axel has some type of change. The best angle he has is to face CM Punk for the IC Championship. Maybe by Survivor Series. That's my best guess. He wins the match, but really, people were chanting boring at one point. And I agree with them. They didn't do bad work in the ring, but there was no structure to that match. There was no feud, nothing. Zero. And this kind of goes along with what happened with the Divas Championship. And I'm going to do this now. AJ Lee versus Brie Bella. Now, the reason that Brie's got the shot was because of Total Divas. This is all about Total Divas. But here's the problem. I said in the very beginning, I wanted to see Divas versus Total Divas. Not AJ basically alienating the regular Divas and then wanting to deal with Total Divas by themselves. Unless this is dealing with maybe the best person to carry that title now. If it's not going to be Nikki, it's not going to be Brie, it's got to be Naomi. I'm saying this not just because I love Naomi, but because she's the youngest talent there who has the best ability. You may say she's a high flyer, she jumps around, but how many females do you know that can do that? That can act like a Kofi Kingston? You don't. So if this is leading for her to get a shot again at the Divas Championship because AJ's going through everybody, I would understand this. But if she's going to go through the entire Total Divas roster and not get any payoff, then this was the most stupidest thing I've ever seen. Brie should have won it. And I'm not a Brie fan. I knew one of the Bellas was going after it, but I didn't care. Because the way they structure the Bellas, or the way the Bellas have asked to be structured, they always did twin magic. They always acted like heels, even though they turned face. I still don't have much interest in them. I commend them for coming back to the WWE, but I don't really have much interest because they have no storyline. What do we got? Just Total Divas. So even with Tamina there to help AJ win, I didn't feel anything interesting. Nope. Now another match that was sad was Bray Wyatt versus Kofi Kingston. I feel like they dropped the ball a little bit with Bray Wyatt. They have no one for him and the Wyatt family to challenge. The only person they had that even comes close to doing the work properly was Kane. There was no gold dust there. I mean, he had to do other matches. He would have been another person they could have put him against. There was no Undertaker there. We need Undertaker to really help Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family, but he doesn't do that. He only comes around once a year and then maybe extend a little bit. But still, Bray Wyatt's not getting anywhere. He has no feud. He has no direction. The gimmick's great, but without anything to go with the gimmick, you don't got anything. So Bray Wyatt does one weird thing where he does the flip back and kind of walks like he's contorted and falls over, which was actually a good touch. I do admit that, but it wasn't enough. I'm sorry. I want to see Bray Wyatt succeed, but he needs someone to be challenged. He needs to challenge someone. And even though he won, he really didn't get anywhere. Now, a match that I was hoping to see a certain move, the Cesaro spin, or swing as they're calling it. Cesaro swing. The Real Americans versus Santino and Great Khali. I expected Santino to get the Cesaro swing again. It would have been funny. I admit it. But then when he hauled that big motherfucker up in his arms and spun Khali around, and you can see Khali's hair swaying as he spins. I'm sorry. That is what's going to get Antonio Cesaro over. Think of it like this. When it came to Dolph Ziggler, when he did those 10 elbow drops, baby, I knew that would be his signature move. It wouldn't be his finishing move, but it would be something that would be memorable. And when you saw him with Damian, people were cheering for that elbow drop after elbow drop. And now with the Cesaro swing, it's the same thing. This could be the beginning of Cesaro actually being pushed in a very subtle way in Real Americans. It easily can. In the end, it was Cesaro who won over Great Khali. But it was all of us who won because everybody hearing the King and then JBL really sold it very good. No way. No way they can take that man. Oh my God. It was not Cole who sold it. It was JBL, which was good. And I'm glad to see that. Now, the next match that I'm kind of confused of the feeling of it. That it kind of made me feel let down, but it was a great match and I did enjoy it, but something was just missing. Ryback, about to say Bray Wyatt, sorry. Ryback versus CM Punk. The match was good. Heyman was good. CM Punk was good. The people were cheering for CM Punk. The people were happy for CM Punk. But when it came to Ryback, he got some heat. Sorry, that was just my cat. Ryback got heat. But I think what was wrong for me, personally, was that his structure of his character has been so shitty for so long that even though he's doing something with Paul Heyman and he's beginning to build something interesting with Paulie, since he just did it so in less than a few weeks, to me it just doesn't feel like it's enough. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to see this objectively. And you may understand my feelings about this with Ryback. Ryback just doesn't feel like it was good. He did some good work in the ring. He still got tanked. But at least he showed us a little bit more of his repertoire. You can see some leg drops. You can see him doing a couple of things, doing some power bombs and stuff like that. But just didn't feel like it was enough. Even though CM Punk won and it was great, this doesn't mean the feud is over. You could still get a Brock Lesnar dealing with a CM Punk. My feeling is, like I said earlier with Curtis Axel, the best thing for Curtis Axel is to deal with CM Punk directly. Let the IC title go up for contention. But I still feel like there was just something missing. I feel like it was coming from Ryback. Probably the character development for me personally. But the match was still good. The crowd loved it. But that wasn't the match of the night, ladies and gentlemen. For me personally, there was only one match. The Shield versus the Rhodes. That was the match of the night for me. That was the match I loved. Seeing the... the awesomeness of the Rhodes family. I may use that in my title. I don't know yet. But the interview with Dusty, and with Cody was well structured. I was really into seeing them win. They've been building this very well. But that interview before the match was actually so good. It made me really like, I want to see this. I want to see it now. I want to see them win. And when you saw them come out and challenge the Shield, it was a great match. The people were screaming for Goldust. The people were screaming for Dusty. And then they were really sucked into going for Cody. Cody was the one who won. But we won even more. Because now you can see someone finally that should have been pushed at least a year or two ago is now being pushed. This might make some sense why ADR did not win. This might make some sense why Damian didn't try to challenge for ADR. It's because, like I said months ago, at least a couple of months ago, Cody might be going for the World Championship. So he has to go through a Damian. And he has to go through an ADR to win. And this might be the point of it. The match was great. And when it was over and when you saw the march to the back, the entire locker room came out. I loved seeing the locker room. And, Art Anderson, seeing him was always very good. Dean Malenko, everybody came out to see him and give him a hug. And Kofi before he lost his match. But I loved the scene of it. It felt really... We know it's fake, but it felt real, like they really were happy to see them back. And I enjoyed the hell out of that match. Now, this is the last... I talked about that. I talked about that. The last thing I'm talking about is Orton versus Bryan. This was not the match of the night for me, but it was a second easily. It was easily the second match of the night, and Ryback and CM Punk would be the third. You could say the reason why, for yourself, you might say because Ryback and CM Punk wasn't good, as I feel it wasn't, not because it was a bad match, just for me personally, it was because of Ryback, because of his character. It could also be because the crowd seemed a little burnt out by the time the Rhodes family won. That would make some sense, particularly what happened with Orton and Bryan. Because it took a while for them to build the crowd back up. They got burnt out by the time of that match. It was a great match. I actually enjoyed the hell out of that match. I did. I didn't have a problem with that match. But when it comes down to it, seeing that in the middle of the show, the Maddox had trouble because the Triple H and wife was not there. And he was in trouble. And asking for the Vicky Guerrero to help him, she said, fuck you. You're nailed. I felt that something might happen. But when it came down to it, and you saw Scott Armstrong come out, because the Big Show came out, pulled a ref that was already in the ring out, knocks out Bryan, and Scott Armstrong comes down. I'm going like, they're going to go down this route? Really? I thought they were actually trying to turn Big Show into something. Because if they don't do something with Big Show, it make no sense. Well, then something did happen. Big Show pulls Scott Armstrong out of the ring and WMDs him as well. KOs his ass. Gets into the ring while Bryan is still sprawled out from the first punch he got. Randall Keith Orton, the second in line in Breakfast Club at this moment without John Cena. John Cena's first. God is first. John Cena second. Orton is third. You could say they sometimes switch positions counting on the situation. But that is how it goes with the baby oil. But when he's telling him stupid, stupid, kind of made me feel sad because that's what he did to Kofi in 2009. But when I saw him get knocked out and basically Big Show say, I've taken enough, I realized there's more that's going to be happening. Where does this lead with Big Show? I have no idea. Does this mean they're going to be doing a triple threat for the title? That's a possibility. Does this still mean one other thing I'm about to express in a minute? About a third party who wants power, not a Vince or Triple H. It could be a third person. I'll talk about in a minute. That could make sense. But it's hard to say how far this is going to go. I believe this is going to end by Survivor Series. I don't think it's going to be Hell in a Cell. How do I rate this show? I could give it a B. I wasn't fond of all the matches. They really didn't make a lot of sense to me. There was certain things that should have been done. The Cesaro swing really perked my interest. The Cody Rhodes bit, seeing him triumph made me happy. That is the best thing I could say. So the last thing I'm going to talk about is who is that person I think is trying to get some power. You know what? I'm going to leave that for another video. I'm going to be doing a debate of the week. And I'm going to, hopefully I'll remember titling it, Who is Grabbing Power? Triple H, Vince McMahon, or someone else? So I hope you enjoyed the Zane's View, and subscribe and comment to my channel. Give me a thumbs up and I will be getting my Raw review out as soon as possible. You guys have a good day.